Hey guys, welcome back to our first episode of 2018. Do what you love what you do. We have a very special guest with us today, Coach Fred Cannon out of North Carolina. He's with us today, and I met Fred a few years ago when I started coaching and just getting my feet wet in the coaching game. And I still remember him sitting down. We actually had a run-in with each other. He was coaching at another high school, and so we probably shook hands or something, but we really sat down at a restaurant with a guy named Art Wade. And, from there, our relationship took off, and we did some things with each other. And just watching Fred do phenomenal things in the community out there in the North Carolina area with his business, personal life, family life, and just watching him grow as an individual. So without further ado, we got brother Fred Cannon with us, Coach Cannon, Coach Fred. He got so many names, I don't even know where to start. Fred, what's going on, man? We got listeners and viewers, so say what's up to everybody.
As I said, I want to say first off, just thank you for having me on, and I appreciate the friendship over the years, and I'm proud of you as well. I look at y'all boys like little brothers, so I'm proud to see where you at too.
Yeah, man, you actually watched everything, man. For me, starting to coach, for me getting married, for me having my first son, and I was a few years behind you, and watching you just lay out the blueprint, and just it's just been a blessing for just to stay in your circle, stay open communication. Anytime I reach out to you, it's a text back. I don't got to wait a few weeks or a few days to get a phone call back. So I definitely appreciate that, man. So tell us your background, man, and tell us what you do right now and where you started. Let's just start when you graduated from college. What was your background?
Graduated from UNCG, majored in communications, finished up my master's from UNCG as well, same field. And background has just been mostly marketing and communications. Originally, I thought teaching is what I wanted to do. I really love kids. I really like the impact that you can have on young people. I come from a family of educators, so that's kind of what led me, to thinking I wanted to do that. But I kind of realized that for teachers, it's not so much about the love of the kids, it's more the love of what you're teaching to the kids. And I really didn't have any subject that I felt passionate about that I can't wait to get to school at 8 o'clock to teach these kids this. But for me, this was sports. And so for me, I realized I didn't have to teach in order to get into the sports avenue of things. So that's kind of what led me, into the basketball world. For my full-time job, I own a company called Cannonball Inspections. And what I do is real estate assessment. It could be anything from HUD housing to, anything privatized by like Wells Fargo, Bacadia, different banks. So I do contract work for those guys just to, do real estate assessment, safety assessments across the continental United States, Alaska, Hawaii, Virgin Islands, Bahamas. It's all over. So that's kind of what my background is now, and that's kind of what I'm probably gonna be moving towards in the future as well.
Hey man, that's good that you mentioned that real estate piece, because a lot of our listeners and viewers, as entrepreneurs, we got a lot of real estate owners and people trying to get in the real estate game. I remember my first property I bought in Newport News. And I was only like 20 years old at the time, and it was on Chestnut Avenue. I don't know if you know about that. I know you be out that area, by the shipyards. And I thought I was doing it, man. And then the housing crisis hit. And it was just a big learning experience for me, and just being able to bounce back. I talked to my father all about those learning experiences, stepping out on faith. I don't see it as a complete failure because I learned so much from that experience and being able to educate other people about that.
Correct.
That real estate piece, man, I'm very excited to hear more about that piece. I want to just go ahead and jump right into it, man. So our show is called Do What You Love What You Do. Fred, what does that mean to you?
That's kind of a loaded question. From a life standpoint, doing what I love is just being free to be who I am and, share that with people that's younger than me. I really, really attract to the younger population just because I can see where I was at that same age and not necessarily having that guidance, but wanting to do more. So now, like the select group of kids that I've kind of, taken to my way, I can see them growing way faster than I did between those, 15 to 23-year-old years. they're so far ahead of where I was at. So I can only imagine what they're going to achieve, over the course of their lifetime. So overall, and my overall purpose is just to make sure when I come in contact with somebody that they're better off for knowing me. I would hate for me to meet you somewhere and you have a 5-minute encounter with me and then be like, I just wasted 5 minutes of my life talking to you. So my whole thing is just whenever we talk, speak, whatever it is, you never know whose background is what, where they're headed, how you link together. I'm a firm believer that every encounter has been, kind of approved by God. So my whole thing is just I don't take any of those encounters for granted, even if it starts off rocky or if it's a good encounter. Either way, it was for some, there was some point to us meeting on that day. So that's kind of how I guide myself throughout the whole day. As far as doing what I love doing the basketball stuff. So Team Felton Basketball, I probably put in out of 24 hours a day, I'm sure I put in 10 to 12 hours a day doing something with basketball, whether it's recruiting, helping my kids find the right schools, setting up skill development plans, finding them a trainer, helping them find a school, whatever it is. It's just, I'm tied into it probably at least 10 hours a day, but I love it. I'm seeing these kids go from either not being able to play or 8 or 9 years old to watching kids play, at Kentucky, Carolina, kids committing to Duke. So that your work hasn't been wasted. The time hasn't been wasted. These are kids that sought me for help, and everybody in our organization that makes it what it is, they sought us out for help, and now seeing them reach their dreams like that, that's big to me.
The kids I was working with were they're seniors now, the class of 2018, and just being able to watch those kids accomplish some things and being able to be a part of that success and at a very young age. And I was young at the time, so a lot of it I wasn't understanding. It was just to me about just coaching basketball, teaching skills. And the stories like about your one kid. I definitely want you to share the story about Sacha, who's playing at Kentucky. I remember you bringing that kid in. I remember him being cut from CP3. I remember you, walking in the gym, you telling us about this kid. Share that story with us, Fred, and what does it mean to you now just to be able to watch him on a national level?
Yeah, it's just one of those things. That's most of the reason why I got into AAU or travel basketball the way that I did is just because there's a lot of kids out there that have potential that get dismissed because they're not ready made. Like it's easy to pick out the Harry Giles and those kids in 8th and 9th grade. Like they're phenomenal basketball players at that age already. Sure, they have stuff to work on, but we knew Harry was going to go to school and pro. Like we knew that already. But there's a lot of kids like Sacha that have the tools, but just haven't, found the right teacher to teach them how to use those tools. So when I saw him get cut, he came and worked out with us, and it was easy to point out all the stuff he couldn't do. But what he could do is he was 6'8" at 14 years old. He could run the floor. He could catch the ball, had good athleticism, was coordinated. He just didn't know what to do with it. And so we just took him step by step. And I would give him very simple goals each game. 3 rebounds, 2 points. 4 rebounds, 2 points. Like we never just threw it on him like you got to go score 60 points. And over the course of his first year in 9th grade, he didn't start for us at 6'8". And just over the course of the summer, you could see him pick up little by little. And he started working harder and harder with Gilbert Abraham, who I give a lot of credit to as our skill developer. He's done a wonderful job. But by the time 10th and 11th grade hit, he just kept working and working. Next thing you know, he was like number 25, I think, in the country on ESPN. Was playing against the best kids in the country and holding his own, won the national titles at Adidas 64. And he did that in 3 years. So my whole thought process was how many kids are out there that didn't get that chance to get that growth. In 3 years, he went from nobody knowing who he was to top 25 ESPN into Kentucky. So there's a lot of kids that just need somebody to believe in them, and Sacha's the poster boy of it.
And one thing I respect about you, you probably don't remember, I don't know if you remember or not, you're always transparent and real. And so at the time, man, I was young, eager, really trying to just make some headway in the coaching game. And then I remember telling you, like, man, I want to be a college coach. And he was like, man, you ain't going to be no college coach coaching no 6th grade team. And so at the time, I'm like, man, this cat told me to crush my dream. But you gave me the steps. She was like, look, this is what you need to do. If you want to be a college coach, you need to start going to these college camps. As I look back at that experience, that was a learning experience for me. And, for you, like I said, the first time you told me, I was like, why he coming at me like that? I felt some type of way. But then when you explain, the steps that I did, I went out and did those steps you told me to do, and found that for myself. Like, this is not, the path that you need to take right now, and things that are lined up. So let's fast forward, man, to some business stuff. That's what this show is all about, baby. I tell people all the time, money brings freedom. I'm not chasing the money, but I'm chasing freedom to be able to do what I love what I do, and do it with whoever I want to, and bring whoever I want to along the way. So, man, I know you was working hard. I know you got in the real estate game early. When I first met you, you had already had a house, and then you in April had purchased another house, a nice home. Why'd you leave your job, man? Why you were making pretty good money at that job? Why'd you leave that job?
Yeah, I've been there 10 years doing property management. Basically, I was doing kind of what I do now on my own for them. And just as I got older and matured, you start valuing your time way more. And the fact that we had kids, and, your mindset just changes. And so for me, it's hard for me to fathom that somebody values an hour of my time at $17 or $18 out of my day. So when you think about spending 8 to 10 hours at your job, and they say, oh, you made $100 for the day. It's just, once you start putting it in that sense, you kind of like, man, half of my life, you could spend half of your life working for somebody else, and they're paying you $10, $15, $20 an hour. Like, I just felt like my time was worth more than that. Like, my value was worth more than that. I have my master's degree. I have two undergraduate degrees. So it's just like, I have this criteria, I have this experience, so why am I making this? And you just realize how much control you're giving to somebody else over your life, and that freedom that you're talking about. I don't want to sacrifice all of my time to help you reach your goals and not achieve mine. And that's kind of what, I kind of came to the realization of, if I stayed at that job, it was just going to be just that. It was going to be a job. And so once I kind of understood how my previous company made their money, and it was really off of what I was doing, I just stepped out on my own and started doing it for myself. And, I'm a contractor now. So anytime I go to work, I know exactly how much I'm going to make, when I'm going to make it. And I'm not restricted to just North Carolina. I can move and live in any state in this country and have work right away. So that freedom you're talking about is important to me, because I want my sons to be able to see whatever it is they want to see. I don't want them to have to always Google something. If we have the means to go see it, I'd rather them be able to touch it and know that the ocean is real, the mountains are real, Europe is real. Like, I want them to be able to experience that. And I don't want to have to ask somebody else for 2 weeks off, or can I take my kids on vacation? Can I do these things? Like, it's just, as I got older, it's just like, I want to have more control over what, especially what my sons see and do, and what me and my wife do. So I just want to be able to have control over that. So I know when I work hard, I know exactly what my end goal is going to be financially. Right. As opposed to working hard and hoping somebody gives me a raise, or hoping they give me the day off. I just couldn't put that, my kids' future in that type of situation.
Yeah, man. And a lot of people, when I talk to entrepreneurs like yourself, they always come up with this multiple streams of income. I need another stream of income. And so when I started hearing that a while back, like I said, I just start getting that creative mind going and things that I can do. And so I started creating opportunities for myself, and I know you created other opportunities for yourself. Right.
The main thing for me is just eliminating debt. So if you have debt, try to pay that off first, and then let the sources of income come in after that. So you don't have to be banking on that. Those sources, they can just kind of stack up for you, and then you can start, using that for whatever you need to use it for. But I'm just a big proponent of eliminating the debt, the credit cards, the revolving, stuff like that. That's what hurts a lot of people, because you're paying 20 and 25% interest on stuff that you can't even use it. So if you got 5, 6 credit cards, whatever, like, spend your time to get that off of you. Because if you're paying $50 a month on 5 or 6 credit cards, you already at $300, $400 out of your household on old purchases. So get rid of that. And then once you start doing it, anything that you invest after that, you're in the profit. So that's the whole thing, is just eliminating the debt. And then you got a little, you can invest. Like, I see you doing a lot on the cryptocurrency. You can take chances at that point and not feel like, oh man, if this goes sour, we're going to be homeless. But if you get good opportunities to make extra money, great. Just go ahead and do it. But don't don't spread yourself too thin into certain situations that you're not educated on. I think we was having a conversation about that on Facebook today. Multiple income sources just prevents you from having that total breakdown instead of putting all your eggs on one basket and then, not having anything else to, cushion that blow.
Yeah, man, you said something key, man, that I think is really important, especially for me, and I'm interested to hear your take on it and how you can help more people like me and you. Married, I got one son, you got two. Husband number one, father number two, and then coach number three, mentor number four, entrepreneur number five. I mean, you wearing all these hats. I'm in the same boat. How do you achieve that balance, and how do you make sure, one, your wife is taken care of and your family's taken care of first, and then everything else falls in place? How do you achieve that kind of balance in your life?
Well, I think the misconception when people get married is you still have individual goals. And the fortunate thing for me is me and my wife have been married. We'll be 15 years in July, and we've been together 17. So she's been with me since sophomore year of college. So we all the dreams that I had, at that time, it's just kind of coming to fruition now. But she's been there the whole time to see the increase throughout both our lives, and we built it together. So it wasn't like I was achieving my goals and she didn't know anything about it, and she's not seeing any of the rewards from it. So like we wanted a house early, so we purchased a house. Instead of having a wedding, we purchased a house at 21, and we still have a house, which became investment properties. But all those plans were set together, so we built it together. And anytime you build it together, it's a little easier for them to stomach the amount of time that you have to spend doing these other avenues and wearing those other hats, because it can get frustrating. I'd be lying to say that every time I had to go to an AAU tournament or something like that, especially now that we had kids, it does have a sting, because you don't always want to miss family functions and miss your own kids, lives. But at the same time, they know it's something daddy loves to do, and they know it's something that's bigger than just me. It's not about me just winning trophies. It's about me helping these kids go to school. So long as people can see that you're genuine in your pursuits, I think that helps you, the people closest to you understand why you're going so much. I also think, as far as being a dad, my kids, I take them with me. Like, they come to practice with me. They come to the gym with me. So they see what daddy's doing, and they see the kids that daddy's helping. And I'm hoping that whether they play ball or not, I'm just hoping that they see the value in it. I hope they see the value in the people that are around me. They call Reg Uncle Reg. They see Jalik and these guys. Like, I just want them to know that outside of just, playing sports, they're building relationships now. Like, they're going to have a ton of big brothers that's going to open up opportunities for them that we didn't have. My kids have been to more ACC basketball games than I've been to in my whole life, and they're 3 and 5. But those are blessings for them, because that's going to seem normal to them, which is going to allow them to dream bigger than I did, way earlier. So that's kind of what, how I balance the hats. I know everything that I do is for my family. I want my kids to be able to benefit from, and part of that is our family name is going to be strong. I have relationships that can help them along the way. Like, so whether it's through sports or they just need recommendations or whatever, I hope my name carries enough weight that somebody would be willing to take a chance on my two boys. So, I was telling me and my wife talked last night. My biggest fear is just not being able to provide for my family. So my biggest goal is to make sure my kids had a life that they can't even imagine.
Few things just to sum up what you said. It sounds like legacy is very important to you. And you, like my shirt says, trust the process, man. And so talk about the process, man. And I know you're seeing the fruits. We all seeing the fruits of the hard work that you put in, the way you built a brand. It's a national brand. Team Felton is a national brand. Just talk about the process of how entrepreneurs can build their brand, and maybe some of the things that you use to build that carried on into your own business, and talk about that relationship piece too, because I know you're very big on relationships. You mentioned that to the coaches, to us when we're coaching all the time, about how when we go out and we represent Team Felton, make sure we talk to other coaches and start building those relationships up front. So How has some of those experiences carried on to your own businesses?
I mean, you was there in the beginning. Basically, I got the job as director at Team Felton because the previous director left and went to CP3, and it was just kind of one of those things. We didn't know Team Felton was going to exist at that point, and I had opportunities to go assume a coaching role or other responsibilities with another program. But again, back to relationships, Raymond and his family gave me the opportunity to do something that I love to do. And if there was opportunity for me to take on the responsibility of building the program back up, I was just appreciative that they bet on me and gave me the opportunity. So I wasn't going to turn my back on them just because, star kids left. And when you came on board, we added 3 teams. We had 3 teams at the time and no high profile names. That's even before Jalik's last name was Felton. So, we had to build that thing from scratch, doing the fish fries and fundraising and all that good stuff. We did that. But the whole thing that you start to learn is that's where the faith, the religious aspect comes into it because you don't have the answers. I was just as young. I think I was like 30, maybe 29 or 30 at the time. And even though I had been in the game for a while, it's different when you're running an organization as opposed to coaching a team. And especially somebody with a high profile name like Raymond, it's just a lot more pressure. And you're trying to compete against programs that was already established and, telling people why they should let their kids come play for you and this organization. So it's one of those things that even though those nights I didn't have the answers, I just prayed a lot. And the biggest thing that I wanted to do in building our brand was just making sure they knew if I said Team Felton, there was good people involved. So even if I had coaches that didn't have experience, I knew 99% of my guys was going to be able to get my kids home and they was going to represent their name well. So I just wanted to make sure that was the first thing. Another part was finding out a consistent goal. Our goal is no student loans, and we never wavered from that. And when I say that is we've lost games playing kids extra minutes to make sure that they could get a look from the school that was there to watch them play a game. My recommendation to business owners or people trying to create a brand is find what their absolute goal is for your brand. If it's money, then put it out there that we want to make money. If it's something that's not tangible, but, a feeling, then put that out there. Whatever you express is what you're going to get back. We want good kids that don't mind putting in the work to develop. That's what we always get. So once we did that, that's who we brand to. We may not get the kid that's 5-star at 6th grade. That's just, that's other organizations that do that. But building your brand, you got to be consistent in what your message is. You got to live it. So if I tell the kids that I want you to be high academic, standards, moral standards, then I have to do the same thing as the director. I finished my master's degree while I was directing the program. My wife's little brother passed away while I was directing the program. Like just a lot of you putting your whole life in front of a lot of people when you set up these roles as leaders in the community, company owners, business owners. Like now your whole life is tied into somebody else. And so y'all saw all those low points for me. Those times were struggling for me. That core responsibility of this is what this program's for and this is what we're going to do. That's how our brand has been established. And once you make it through those rough times, I call it the trial times, people wait for you to break. My goal was to make sure that our kids went to school. And I mean, you saw those first rosters. We had a lot of kids that if I said the names down, like people were like, oh, I didn't realize they started that early, but we saw the beginnings. And the whole thing is you got to have faith in yourself and you got to have faith that God put you in that role. If you try to put yourself in a role that's not ordained for you, it's not going to work anyway. So what I do doesn't feel like work. And that's why I think we've been successful at it. I think the people that I brought on board with me also had the same goals and we enjoy being around each other. When you was with our program and all of us got together, like it was like family for every coach. And that's how it should be. And even in my business, I have to prove that I'm one of the best real estate assessors in the country. Why should you give me the contract? Why should you trust me with your properties? Like I still have to prove myself in the field where there's not a lot of people of color in my business, and there's not a lot of people in general in our business. So to be able to start a company up and generate that type of interest, like that's just a competitor in me that I'm gonna make sure you don't restrict me or dismiss me just off of whatever preconceptions you may have. You always gonna have to grind and prove yourself, but you got to step out on faith and realize that I can leave my company at 10 years and start my own company and do well. but you have to be willing to take that jump. And what really, I started reading a lot more, and that was instrumental in me making that jump. I dwelled deeper into my religious aspect, my faith. That gave me the confidence to do it as well. Having a supportive wife let me do it as well. So there's a lot of key ingredients for you to overcome those tough times, because you will doubt yourself, because you want to be cautious and not have your son be, affected by a dad's bad mistake. My wife's got to do this because of my bad mistake. But if you got the faith, then you'll realize that, God didn't put this idea in front of you just for it to be wasted. You just have to go ahead and make it manifest by your actions. And sometimes you will be tired. And sometimes you will be confused. But the whole thing is once you, like I said, either you're going to fail at it or you're going to be successful at it. But if it doesn't work, then the next time it comes up, you already got the answer. So you just have to stay in it long enough to get the answer. So, like I said, all I can tell you is I always tell my kids, bet on yourself. Mm-hmm. Because the stats apply to somebody else. They don't know how hard you're working. They don't know what your mind is made of. You don't know how much they love something. So those are factors that you can't measure. So those numbers don't always apply to you. But if you don't bet on yourself, you're always going to be restricted by somebody else's expectations. But me, I just can't do that. That's just not in my makeup to allow somebody else to have that kind of control.
Betting on yourself when nobody else will. And your faith aspect, that was one of my questions I wanted to ask you about that faith. I know you are a God-fearing man. I know that Jesus Christ is first in your life just by the first time I met you and going to your church, knowing your pastor. I know y'all got a new pastor now before I left, and just who you were surrounding yourself with, the way you carried yourself. And you talked about some of those low points that you had. And in that faith piece, man, just real quick before we end, how did that conversation with God go with you? I'm asking him, is this the right decision to leave your job, take that risk, lose that guaranteed income that you have for your family, already built a good life for you and your family? How did that conversation go? How did that prayer go? What was the process with that? How did you receive confirmation like, this is what I need to do to step out on faith to start my own business?
Well, I put it this way, it started way early in that. I would say I've always gone to church, and I'm from the country in the South, so you raised in the church regardless. So, but I always tell people, it really doesn't mean anything until you start living life to understand the lessons that you were being taught. And then you can apply it back to what your pastor was telling you or what you're reading in the Bible. It's kind of hard to understand how it applies to you until you start living. I was probably 19 or 20 or so, somewhere in that ballpark. And I'm one of those type of guys that if something goes wrong, I want to fix it. And after a while, sometimes you get in situations where you try to fix it and it's just not working. What's your second option? And you start realizing there's some problems you're going to face that you just can't fix. And if you don't have faith to back that up, then it's kind of, you just stuck. And I see so many people get stuck and just give up on something, or, just get stuck in a rut in life to where they just can't get out of it. And once I started humbling myself enough to know that I can't fix everything, what I started doing was just praying. It could be something as simple as buying a car or whatever. God, if this is not the car for me, don't let me get it. And so if you didn't get approved for it, or they sold it already, or whatever the case, I just took that as that's my confirmation on what I just asked for. And I've done that with every major decision in my life, including proposed to my wife, to the house we bought. If she's not the one for me, don't let this happen. If this house isn't for me, don't let us get approved for it. And every time I've done that, and whatever I've taken in and had access to, is grown from that. So before I make a decision, I pray on God, if this is not for me, don't let it happen. Because I'm one of those type of people, I'm going to make it happen. But if he gives me the ultimate answer, no, this is not what you want, or it's not for you, I let it go. And before, that was hard for me, because like I said, I'm looking at it I'm looking at this, these numbers are good, blah, 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 this got to work. And then something will happen. It's like, oh man, I'm glad I didn't do that. So it's just one of those things, just realizing you can't fix everything. You're not smarter than everybody else on the planet. And just realizing that every day you're going to learn something. But you don't have to make those decisions before you have that conversation with God. So that helps me out a lot. It takes a lot of stress off of me, because I was one of those type of people, if I didn't get an answer right away, I was stressed. And on worrying about what the end result's going to be and how bad it could be, those type of things. And that stuff eats up at you, and it starts to take a toll on who you are as a person. And I don't like that feeling. So that's kind of where, that conversation started. I travel a lot. So I'm in the car. I started doing a lot of podcasts, listening to a lot of that stuff, motivational speaking. I listen to a lot of speeches from the past. I like hearing other people's success stories. That inspires me because it just lets you know that there's other regular people, out there achieving great things. And everything you do is not always going to be celebrated on the national stage. Like, you understand that too. And that was hard for me on the basketball side. Like, I was like, man, we good too. And you're trying to prove yourself, and my kids are good. But after a while, you realize none of that matters. Is if Sacha ends up in Kentucky, whether you're in the newspaper or not, the kid's at Kentucky. So you start realizing you still won the battle. And sometimes you'll still be fighting yourself over stuff that's already proven, but a lot of that's just maturity. But having that faith just allows you not to feel the burden that carry stuff that you really can't fix. And that faith aspect, I think, is what separates a lot of people from seeing their end goals. And I think it also allows you to dream bigger, because once you realize that the success is not all the way determined by you, you're not afraid to dream big. I'm not afraid to lead my company now because of all the other circumstances. Team Felton, for instance, to see that go from 3 teams to 1st through 11th grade and girls programs, all that, we dreamed big and we reached it. So for me to go out and do my own company, doing what I'd already been doing for 10 years, like, it's not that big of a leap. Now, that guaranteed money, like I said, that was the biggest thing for me because I know that's the safe play. But I also know that I feel like I'm a knowledgeable person, and I'm one of those people. If me and other people are doing it, I'm definitely smart enough to do what they're doing. I just have to make sure that I go ahead and take the steps to do it the right way. But that faith piece is very crucial in helping you stabilize your life and not worry yourself to death, so you can enjoy your day.
Well, man, you just shared a great message with us, and I appreciate your time. You can follow Team Felton Basketball on Instagram. I think you have your own personal Instagram too?
Coach Cannon.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Coach Cannon on Instagram. Ask him on Facebook. Like I said, I appreciate coaches always reaching back. Got any questions? Like I said, we got a lot of entrepreneurs on the show that's about to step out on faith in 2018, Fred. And so I definitely know that whoever listens to the show, they're going to have a lot of questions for you, especially in that real estate game. I just talked to a couple of people this week about getting in the real estate game. So I know they're going to have a lot of questions about commercial, residential, the difference between the two, things like that. So I'm sure you can answer those questions for them as well. Again, man, thanks a lot, man. God bless you. I'm happy to see your success and your progress that you made. Tell April and the boys I said what up. And hopefully the next time you're up here, man, we can connect real soon.
Absolutely.